Hello, everybody. It is June, and it is summertime here. I'm up in Chicago today, but we have Allie out there in Dallas. So summer's in full swing, and we've got some really exciting stuff today, don't we, Allie?
Yes.
Tell everybody who we have as our guest.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Today we have Benji Coomer, one of Box's founders and current general manager and head honcho here at Box. So really excited to get to talk to him today.
No, I am too. I am definitely too. I'm so happy he's joining us. So, Allie, what's been going on in your world in the last month?
Oh my gosh, it's been a busy month. We just wrapped up. Box just wrapped up a conference. TIPA Dallas happened last week, which was super fun. We got to take a lot of the team, and Lauren Bailey, our director of sales, spoke on a panel. She's actually the VP of TIPA this year, which is super impressive and awesome. So really awesome. Wanted to give her a shout out on that. Other than that, pretty much business as usual. All the kids are out for summer, so really starting to encourage everybody to start looking at their renewals if they're, start doing some prep if they don't have anything coming up immediately. How about you? How's everything going?
Oh, it's going great. Yeah, summer's here. I just had my son came in from college for a few weeks. Now he's back out to an internship, so he's out of here now. Unfortunately, really enjoyed his time, but and so just got some good travel coming up here in the next month. Some pleasure, some business, and so excited for that. Just summer. I just love the fact up here where I can just wake up in the morning and not have to not to think about what I'm wearing because of the weather. So excited about that. So so that's all good.
Awesome. Well, I do want to take a minute to introduce Box for anybody who is new, who's joining us this morning. Before we get into kind of what's going on with the market and our guest spot, just want to take a few minutes for anybody who's newer to the network or wants a refresher what we're about. Broker Online Exchange, or Box as we are widely known, is the largest network of energy agents, brokers, and consulting firms in North America. We exist entirely to give independent energy brokers like you access to everything you need to compete and win. All the top electricity and natural gas suppliers in every deregulated market, pricing tools, and cutting-edge software, all backed by a team of industry experts. So we exist to help you guys. We want you guys to look like rock stars. We want you guys to have every arrow in your quiver to be able to go to war and go to battle for your customers. And we are here to help you every step of the way. We're here to be your back office, your admin support, anything that you need. Like I said, we are definitely doing a lot in terms of putting together some tools, some portals, some really cool stuff to help everybody who works with Box stay organized. So get in touch with us if you'd like some support, if there's anything that we can help with. Now that that's out of the way, Scott, what is going on with the market whether it's the last week, last month, what are we looking at?
Well, the markets, have been a little up and down here. Nothing crazy. No big movements. One thing I really want our listeners to know about is right now is really this extended ceiling, floor and ceiling. I have to say ceiling, and not the ceiling has been increased. The ceiling's kept the same. The same floor and ceiling has been extended out another 2 planning years. So now it's going out through May of 2030. That ceiling.
That's PJM capacity ceiling,
right? PJM capacity. Okay. Amanda, can you put the chart up, please? Thank you. Awesome. Okay, so this kind of graphs it out here a little bit. So there's way this all works here, and it's just planning years. So the planning years is June through May, and that's the prices for that's when the capacity prices are situated in these planning years, right? And so we've had auctions where we hit 329, 333. Those are the ceilings. These ceilings have now been extended out through the next following years at this 329 ceiling as well. And so with that and the floor and all that, really this is going to have a much bigger impact on power prices than people think about. This is actually one of the more bullish things for power prices. And why would you say that? Well, because really, when the auction, for the things, if it hits the ceiling, and it will. So for instance, this 27.28, if there wasn't a ceiling, the price would have been 558, right? a reserve margin. A reserve margin is basically the level of like the maximum amount of generation we have compared to what the peak load is got down to like 15%. From normally it's been 24, 25. So that's a very thin levels. I mean, there's always stuff on maintenance. Not everything's running exactly 100% all the time and is ready to go, right? So it's very thin level of margin of error here for anything to happen. So with that, what happens then is like that last molecule sets the price and it keeps going up. And so this is kind of a lens to a little bullish sort of level here. And over this period through 2030, we could be seeing a 20 gigawatt increase in load over this period. So we need more capacity. So somewhere the price has to come out. If it's not going to be the capacity price, it's going to end up being in the power price. And so with that, be cognizant. This is the slide here of the show to get customers to sign more long-term if you need that. And for customers, if you're viewing here, this is why you should be buying long-term in PJM, because this is going to become more and more and more of the story. And that's
Scott, I've got a question on that, because if we're not allowing that to supply demand to balance itself within the capacity market, are you starting to see some of that potential volatility show up in forward curves? Like when we're looking at 2028, 2029 out through 2032, are you starting to see elevated forward prices for those markets, or has that not really manifested yet?
Yeah, there's some elevated forward prices there, and already kind of there. So we really think the best thing to do is just kind of take advantage of it. I think there's going to be somewhat of a dip. I think the hedge funds really been buying this up, and hedge funds aren't their strongest hands, right? So, and I know this from talking to traders out there. I do have quite a bit of colleagues still left in the field. So it's really. There's going to be a little bit of dip here, I think, especially if summer doesn't come in as high as we have, because we have a decent reserve margin for this planning year. So, but it's a future one. So if it's kind of a lull this summer, we could see a little bit of a dip in these forwards, because it's just kind of like, tail wags a dog kind of thing. So it's, that's the time to seize to take advantage of this. But there has been a little uplift in pricing there, but it's also, man, I don't know. If I'm just managing this, I do not want to be caught into where, these prices in PJM, which are currently energy only areas in the 50s, where it gets into the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, which they have in the past. And that's when budgets can get really destroyed. So while it's still manageable, take advantage of it. At least buy a slice for those years. I just talked to a very large client the other day. I was looking to just extend 2 years and take it out through 29. I said, like, hey, get 25% in 2030 at least. Let's get something in there so we can you have a start there. And so he agreed, and that's what he's doing. But that's this kind of conversations really that we're having with our clients and Box's clients.
Yeah, 100%. I actually just the other day had lunch with a agent and their customer who they're locked through 2029. And I said, okay, that's great. And it feels like you've got a lot of time. But if you were in our managed portfolio, you would already have 20, 30% locked, out through those, through 2030 and through 2031. So look, taking a long view on this stuff is really, really helpful.
Yeah, and before we get on with Benji here, I mean, I really want to plug that as well. What Allie just said is our managed portfolio, our some of our best top clients as far as like size goes, they're in this managed portfolio, but this can go all the way down to customers that are 3,000-4,000 annual megawatt hours, right? We have suppliers that will work with us on that. And in this kind of program, we're always, we're once or twice a year, we're making hedges. We always have a strike kind of an area where we want to be at for that next hedge. So if there's a dip, for instance, I'm talking about a potential dip this summer, we can take advantage of it right there. It's not a shuffling of papers and getting it all over and like let's sign a addendum with supplier we take, let's get it priced and do all this. Oh, now the market's back up. We're ready to roll right there. It's part of the strategy that we utilize. And we have, since I started, I think we put on 15 to 20 customers here, and none of them have left. They've all continued to extend their their contracts because they're super happy with that. And so the brokers on here, it's a great way to offer something different to your customers, and it's a way for them to get much more sticky with you because it's much easier. It's not a renewal process anymore. It's just an addendum we're extending for a year. We're extending our strategy is now saying we should be buying in 2030. So here's this addendum to put there. So
yep.
That's all. But let's bring on Benji. I'm super excited here, Allie. Let's bring him on here.
What's up, guys?
Here we are. And the myth, the legend. Benji
What's
Coomer.
up, Scott? What's up, Allie? How are y'all?
Good. Doing good. How you doing, Benji?
All good.
Yeah,
Excited
Benji.
for this. Excited. You guys put on a fantastic webinar, and y'all always do put out amazing market information and all that good stuff. So excited to be here.
Thanks, Benji. Appreciate it. Benji and I love when I see Benji in the office because we just look at each other and be like, all right, playing some business today. We're just playing business, like we're kids playing business. So, it's awesome. He really puts a great frame of mind and makes it such a fun office and culture here. So tell us, Benji, before we get started, how was Box founded? Give us the backstory.
The backstory is I worked at a supplier. Arthur worked at a supplier, and we both had kind of seen some industry evolution that was really starting to happen. And most of it revolved around, suppliers, they're limited on resources, and their pricing desk are strained. And there's a lot of, there's thousands of energy brokers out there. And, the thing that was really starting to happen was this idea of like, hey, we're going to consolidate our broker channels. We're going to really focus on the, kind of that 80-20 rule. We're going to focus on the top 20% of brokers and, kind of dive in on them. And at the supplier that I worked at, a couple of suppliers, but, at both places, we were really starting to consolidate our broker channels and say, hey, let's kind of zone in on the guys that are, sending us business. Let's zone in on the guys that are, have high ROI, that, low pricing requests, getting deals done, things like that. And so it, really that concept had kind of been in my mind for a long time. And, kind of one day, I had known Arthur in the industry for a while. We were introduced by a mutual friend, and, we started talking, and he had just exited from Hudson Energy and was like, hey, thinking of this concept of kind of this master brokerage. And if we bring some technology to it, we can kind of consolidate a big group of brokers, and, we can kind of through technology be able to streamline it a little bit, make it a little faster, quicker, all that. And he was like, I know you have great relationships in the broker channel. And really that was kind of the genesis, kind of the beginning of the idea, so to speak. And, obviously a lot of ups and downs from there, but that's really kind of where the whole idea started. And, my wife always jokes with me that, I remember it was September 8th, I believe, of 2013. And, was the day that I said, hey, I'm going to work. And she was like, well, where are you going? And I'm like, well, I'm just going to go to Starbucks. And she was like, well, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I guess we'll work on the logo and figure out a website and get started, So, that first, really the first year we worked on getting supplier relationships in place. And a lot of people were like, well, it sounds good, but do you have any customers? And I'm like, not really, but, so it was a lot of chicken or the egg before, you've got to really sell the dream. But, we slowly built up great supplier relationships and really started working on our technology and slowly started bringing on employees, and it's kind of where it started.
Yep. And here we are today. What do we have, like 50 employees? And
Yep.
I mean, I know the revenue here and this kind of amount of active brokers is like tripled since I started 5 years ago. It's just, it's just crazy. Yeah. It's phenomenal. And it's a great value offering that you guys have built here. So
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. So, Benji, when you think about the future of retail electricity, really, what's the biggest change customers and brokers need to understand over the next few years?
Well, I think I'm going to be speaking your language here, Scott, but really this idea of that, electricity and power and gas and all that it's no longer a commodity, right? It's becoming this strategic business input where, historically customers, would worry strictly about price, but really they have to start thinking about risk management, right? And, you have to think about reliability, sustainability, grid constraints, distributed generation, fixed versus non-fixed, all these things that are in contracts and in pricing. And as that's happening, the market's becoming a lot more dynamic. There's data centers, electrification, manufacturing growth, reshoring. And then you have all the, highs and lows of weather and different things like that. So it's putting a lot of pressure on customers. And, those are a lot of pressures that you just hadn't seen, 5-10 years ago. But for brokers, it's really kind of moving beyond simply finding what's the cheapest rate, right? And for customers, it means having that trusted advisors who can help them navigate, this complicated energy landscape. And, I feel like that's where Box kind of steps in and we say, hey, we want to partner and kind of, link up with our brokers and say, hey, we want to help you bring some of these strategies, bring market information and stuff so that their customers have all of the data and information they need to make, to really think about that risk management.
Yeah. Go ahead, Allie.
Totally makes sense. I was going to just follow up. So for customers that think of electricity as a once every few years renewal, especially those who are working with brokers and trust their broker and say, well, my broker's got it. How should the customer mindset change and how can brokers help?
Well, I think, that's one of the biggest misconceptions about the market today is, waiting until 90 days until your expiration and then shopping rates. That's an outdated strategy, right? And our best customers, they're monitoring contracts, their usage, market conditions, their business changes, year round. And, there's questions they ask, did you open new facilities? Have you added any sort of, EV charging, solar roof, rooftop solar? Those are all decisions that are going to impact their energy strategy, right? And so really when you say, what is my strategy? It really should be treated more like treasury management or financial strategy behind it, right? And it's like an insurance renewal that you don't wait until, the maturity date of this thing to start thinking about, am I going to invest more here? What am I going to do? But it's, you just shouldn't wait until then. And that's really kind of our, theme that you'll hear throughout most of these is get a strategy in place, right? Take some risk off the table, really manage that contract during the life of the contract, not just waiting until 60, 90, 30 days until renewal. Does that make sense, Allie?
Oh, 1,000%. And it's an absolutely great note to get, to get the customers paying attention to the contract, but also to the strategy and to the market and to all the changes that we're seeing. Because it is getting very, very much more complex.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest energy decisions, they happen between renewals, not during that 30-day window that they're.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah.
I'm going to dot the I here. Well, it's like, I hope we do, but a lot of times your back's against the wall at that point,
Well, it's something that's similar. Like you brought up before the tax strategist sort of example, right? And like people what do you, there's a tax preparer, it's going to prepare all your tax forms for you. And here you are, here's what you pay. And that's kind of similar to that more broker mindset versus consultant mindset. And a tax strategist is a consultant, right? So the same kind of thing, right, Benji, where you can't change. It's too late for me if I'm filing my 2025 taxes to do anything about 2025.
Yeah.
And it's almost too late to do anything about 2026.
You're just going to put inputs in there and hope.
For 2027 and beyond, I can start doing things now, right? And And so, and with that, and like, again, we're just seeing, and a good point is the whole thing of these advisors that do not, the brokers that just are showing out, figuring out pricing, here's pricing, fixed all in pricing. There is so many, it's so much easier to get a hold of people. There's so much easier to prospect now that somebody with giving all these other value adds going to get a hold of your customer and say, hey, have you ever thought of doing this or this or this? And something's going to grab them. And if you're not the one doing it, you can lose your procurement business. Somebody might show up community solar and get their way in there and do or an efficiency project or a solar or Rex and get their way in there. So yeah, this is what we try to preach all the time, because savings is in a rising market. You're not showing savings. You're promising savings. You're already probably you got a knock on you right off the bat because you're going to come deliver that to the customer. It's not going to be savings anymore, and the trust.
Well, and think about it too, like think about it like in a financial investing, right? Like if you have $100,000 and you're trying to invest into the market, the strategy is not just to wake up one day and say, okay, I'm going to go buy Apple. It's like, no, you want to diversify some things. You want to take risk off the table. There's different things, you want dollar cost average and say, hey, how can I, ride the market down while also, taking all my risk off the table. And it's the same strategy on buying power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of, saying, hey, there's no world that makes sense where it says, I have 10,000 megawatt hours that I use annually, and I'm just going to pick one day in the market where I'm going to say, I'm going to go and buy power for that.
Yeah. As we always say, you're managing a short position in the most volatile market in the world.
Exactly. And by not, what is
you have no expertise or experience. So
not making a decision is you are
making
you're saying.
Exactly. Well, this year, for instance, in PGM, if you waited until, if you had a contract between January 26th, a lot of people have annual contracts that begin at the beginning of the year, right? And if you waited to hedge that till December, you paid the highest price 2026 was ever around the board. December was the highest it was during the whole previous 3 years. So it was like, and that's pretty typical, right? It's like, but people do it. So Benji, let's highlight Box here a little bit, like, and kind of what we offer here. The market, getting more complex. Obviously we've been talking about that, and customers and guidance. Brokers want to win their business. What should brokers look for in a partner and to help them compete in the next phase here of retail electricity?
Well, first thing is, the market, it's really become so complex for anyone to try to manage it by themselves, right? If you're an independent energy broker, the idea of trying to stay on top of, your customers' renewals, trying to manage strategy for them, trying to understand what the market's doing, having all the information that you really need at your fingertips, that's something that I just deeply believe you shouldn't do it alone, right? You should have a team behind you. And really that's the whole concept of Box, is saying, hey, you can link up with someone, with a partner that has a full strategic services team. We have a full pricing desk. We've got a full commissions team that can consolidate commissions for you. We can do commission audits for you, all that kind of stuff. And then you get back office support. We can, we've got all of the coverage when it comes to licensing for both gas and electricity and all of the deregulated markets. And then, as of a year ago, the ability to say, hey, there's other business services that, a company like AppDirect, who we were acquired by, you can come in and as a strategic advisor, you can come in and also help them say, hey, it's not just power that we can help you with. We can help you make strategic decisions on anything that your customer needs for their business, right? And that's just a really compelling, strategy, really, as an independent agent, to come in and say, hey, I want all of that behind me to, so that I have a full consulting business at my hands that I can present to my customer. And I think, for our brokers, we've got thousands of them now. They see the value in that, and, not to toot our own horn here either, but we have really good people. And we've got a team of, our account managers are awesome. They're on the spot. They're going to respond quick. We've got, you guys that, put together the strategic services, put together strategy, things like that. Our pricing desk is quick. We try to limit, mistakes as much as possible. And, I know it sounds crazy, but I always tell anyone, we've never not paid anyone that didn't fraud us. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's, you need that trust between a partner, and, that's where Box steps in, and we try to fulfill all those things that we tell people we do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Shifting gears just a little bit to something that is really top of everyone's mind and definitely making all of the headlines right now. AI is eating everything. It's all over the internet. It's all over our conversations. It's on my laptop right now. How does the AI conversation reshape the energy broker's role? How does it affect it? How does it change?
Well, I think that, as an energy broker, one, you should be looking at AI as a generator for you, as how can I do more, right? And anybody that like you're saying, Allie, that pays attention at all is understanding that AI is moving at a pace that's unbelievable. So really, when it comes to electricity, there's two parts to this. One is it's like how much power AI is using, right? So as a broker, it's like, this is a great time to be an energy broker because there's just so much demand out there that people need help. They need strategies. They need to understand, like, hey, I'm buying, I'm going and buying the biggest cost, that when it comes to AI, when it comes to data centers, power is like their biggest cost, right? And it's like, how do I manage that? So that's number one. And then number two is that whole concept of how can AI make me better, right? And this is where I'll kind of give a plug for one of our sister companies with AppDirect, but we've got a company called devs.ai, and you can build things at your fingertips to say, hey, I need a bill reader, whatever you want to, actually Box already has that, but I need something that helps me do this. And like, for $20, $30 a month, you get you a seat on devs.ai, and you can just have a world of things that you can start building as an energy broker, right? And one of the main concepts and one of the main philosophies from our businesses is saying, hey, it's not just AI alone, it's AI plus people. And I don't think AI is going to replace salespeople. And when I use the term salespeople, I really should probably consolidate that down to a consultant. It's not going to build strategy. It actually can help you build strategy, and it help you take market information and make smarter decisions with it, right? If you look at any of the other industries where brokers and consultants live, whether it's in healthcare, financial services, AI is becoming a big thing, right? And I think as an energy broker, you got to partner up with people that say, hey, how do we use AI to help us make smarter decisions? How do we use AI to help us get to market faster? How do we use market information that you guys provide? How do we gather and consolidate that? And that's where I think AI comes into that strategy conversation to say, hey, help us, if I'm an energy broker, help me come up with things that help me live my life faster, easier, things like that. And that's where I think AI, you've really got to start embracing that and not being conspiratorial that it's going to take your job, because if you're bringing value as a consultant, it's just going to help you bring value quicker. It's going to give you more access to more data. And those are the kind of things that help us make better buying decisions for our clients and customers.
Absolutely makes sense. I was just saying the other day because I was comparing two very long meter lists, and I was like, I never have to do this by hand again. This is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's just simply, and I'll say the same statement, but it couldn't be more true. But AI is not going to replace your job, but it is going to replace people that don't use AI, right?
Right.
It's like you've got to start understanding, how can I use AI as whatever you do. If you're an employee, a staff operator, if you're in pricing, if you're in commissions, whatever, how can I use AI to do my job better?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to you can make use tools to basically make you smarter, make you communicate better, make you market better, make everything just more organized. It just, you utilize it. And Benji, I remember like we were on a management call, gosh, shortly after ChatGPT came out. I don't know who brought it on there, but it was like, oh, look at this thing. We can like, look at it can do. Like it can like ask it to write a note to blah blah, and it spits it out. Oh my god! Like, and now it's just evolved to where we're building out estimated pricing tools.
Oh my gosh!
All these things. It's really evolved. It's going to get even more and more and more. I was actually listening to some guy this morning on TV. He's talking about how the whole talk about how SaaS versus software versus an AI, and how it all like what's evolving. And he says like, yeah, basically he says like in 3 years there could be a point where the keyboard doesn't even, you don't need a keyboard anymore. Everybody's just speaking in stuff.
It's
do that.
Moving at a very fast pace.
Email to write to change this out, change that word to this. Like just kind of like are doing it versus typing. It's maddening to think that, but I can think like, oh, come on, that's not gonna be true. But then again, who thought we'd be here where we are now 5 years ago? So
crazy, I know. Awesome.
So Benji, if you what's a bet here you made with Box that felt crazy at the time and worked out?
I've thought about this a little bit, and I really think in general, like, whatever it's been 14 years later, it's easy to say, oh, well, Box is whatever Box is now, right? But at the time, this idea of, hey, we're going to go consolidate brokers and we're going to try to make their life easier and give them technology. I think it was a pretty big bet, because everyone at the time, it was very, it was very independent, a lot of independent, broker shops. And you had some people that were, they had, I'll call it a call center type environment, or they may do door to door. They're very consultative. Maybe they go to networking events, they call in their brother-in-law. My brother-in-law is a CFO somewhere. I'll go, get him. But I think, the idea of saying, hey, our sales channel, our business development channel, we're going to outsource to brokers and kind of sit between brokers and suppliers. I think a lot of, I think at that point, I think a lot of people would have been like, why, like, why will that work? And I think just having the background of having sat on a supplier side of the business of saying, hey, we have to have some sort of consolidation to start happening here, so that we can, give these independent brokers, and, I like to say that small brokers have hearts too. They have business to run too. And
they adopt the pit bulls, right?
Yeah. And it's like, maybe they are only closing one deal a month, but that deal needs to be done. That's a customer behind it, And so having technology to help streamline that, at that point in time, and, I say this phrase quite a bit, but if you're not embarrassed by your first release, then you've probably waited too long to release whatever it is. Well, our first version of what is now My Service Cloud and our broker platform, it was a little embarrassing. It was glorified spreadsheets and a lot of stuff on the back end, but we always kind of had that long-term view of like, we're going to create a platform, and we're going to create technology, and we're going to put some people behind it that can really help a broker out, and 14, 15 years later, I think we can say that, I think that we can sit here and say, hey, we have a very strong value proposition. If you're an independent broker, if you're a small broker shop, if you've got 2 or 3 agents, if you've got 10, 15 agents, we've got something that can really help you. And, one of the things that I'm very proud of you, Allie, you mentioned Lauren being named VP of TIPA. I think that of ex-TIPA presidents, I think we've got 10 of them that are box, do some sort of box business with us, and I think too, just pragmatically, no one wants to manage, 14 different gas licensing and 15 different electricity licensing in different markets, be an expert in all of those markets. It's hard to do, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's where we kind of step in. And, but to your original question, I think that the whole concept at the time, it was a big leap. It was a big jump to say, hey, we're going to come in here and consolidate, third-party brokers to come and, use our platform. And I think a lot of people were like, well, why would they outsource what they do to you? And it's like, but they just didn't understand we were really trying to create a values, proposition and give all of these things to people where they can really scale their business. And we've been able to do that.
Yeah.
And, it's, one of the fatal flaws of box is that the more success that a broker has with us, the closer they are to, leaving us. And I kind of thought that for a while, but we've had brokers that, we pay them $1 million a year and they do it year after year after year. And they don't want to leave because they find the value in what we're doing with them. You know what I'm saying? And so these are guys that are doing tons of deals, tons of contracts, and they're like, we're not going anywhere because we just can't, we're not going to be able to step out and go do that without having the support that Box brings on the back end.
Right. If you basically just give out a very small portion of their revenue to basically double or triple their business growth, it's like, and focus on what they do best, and that is relationships, right? And we take care of everything else. Whatever you need, we can take care of.
Exactly.
We built presentations for customers and go to a meeting.
100%. Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah.
With the commission side of it's really where I'd be. I would be dealing with that. All right.
Oh my gosh. When you hear stories of brokers that are like, I spend, 25% of my month trying to, make sure my commissions are right, or my commission, am I getting paid properly by the supplier? Did I get paid at all? All these things. And, we've got a full commissions team on the back end, takes care of all of that. And, they really put together, our commission packets, our commission runs that are, easy to manage through, easy to, make sure that's just one simple thing, that can take up, a quarter of a broker's life is sitting there, stepping through account numbers and making sure that their volumes are matching and all this stuff. And it's like, just let us handle that.
And they just updated those commission reports. They look great, by the way.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, it really speaks to the relationship side of the business too, because I know with independent brokers, especially with Box being a new concept, there's a lot of trust that needed to go into just getting a shot at first. And I mean, because it was just, totally new concept, and brokers can be, a little territorial about their customer. I mean, about your relationship, sure, naturally, but it's really impressive to see how far we've come.
Yep. Great.
That said, if you were starting Box today instead of when you did, what would be different about your strategy?
Well, I think it's very easy in hindsight, but I think, Arthur and I have talked about this a long time, but I think we would have spent a lot more money earlier. We would have, I'll give you a great example of the two folks in the room. Scott came on. How long have you been here, Scott?
4.5 years.
4.5 years. So, let's round it up to 5. So, we had already been in business, 7-8 years at that point. But, bringing people like you on, bringing people like Allie, Allie, the funny story, Allie rejected me the first time I gave her a job offer.
I hear this story. Oh my
And,
God.
I'm like, what in the world? Like, she was like, but, Allie has a very entrepreneurial mindset, and, she loves building things, and she loves, and I think she went to a startup business, and, and I have no idea what the business was or whatever, but I think it was about a year later, she came back to me and she was like, hey, we talked about a year ago. And I'm like, yes, the offer's still on the table. So let's make this happen. So, but, really, we built a team pretty slowly at first. And, like I said, I think it's easy now because things have worked out. But, I probably would have doubled it early on. And really doubled down on technology and, said, hey, let's get some more experts, let's get Scott in the room that he can come in here and think. Now I say that, but the other side of that is we early on, we really took to this mindset of saying, hey, we want to start with people that are green so that we can, kind of do things in the way that we want to do them, right? And, people that had been in the industry, it was such a new concept that, in the first few years, we had some people that had, industry experience. And it's like they couldn't buy into what we were doing because their experience didn't allow them to say, well, does this something new, what I'm saying? And so, that is something I'm really glad we did, because to this day, we've got 6 or 7 people that have been here since the beginning. And, I take a lot of pride in that, a lot of people bought into the vision, bought into saying, hey, let's do things different. Let's try to be a little bit differently. We have a saying around Box that, you don't have to be better than other people, but we do need to be a little bit different. And, we really bought into that. How can we bring a different approach to the market, and how can we be a little bit different of a partner for our, for our partners and for our consultants? And, it's worked out really well. But I think I would have really doubled down on going faster. Does that make sense? Like saying, hey, let's get more employees. Let's invest in the technology a little faster. Let's get some, more developers, things like that, early on. But, it ended up working out, but there is a natural growth trajectory that I think healthy businesses go through. And I think, ours was a little slow at the beginning, but then we kind of really started ramping. But I think, just turning that up a little earlier probably would have helped us.
Maybe, but I think, we're all in the right spot now. I was going to say that about my hiring is, it's really all in the timing, and we all landed in exactly the right spot. So
that's right.
All good.
Well, thanks, Benji. Thanks so much for taking some time out of here. You're really busy day, and our listeners are all probably we're super just great information from you, and we're excited to keep this machine growing. That's
yes.
It makes it fun every day. So
yes.
Awesome.
Thank you so much thank you so much for your insight and for all of the stories about Box. We loved I love to hear the origin stories in the business. It's always
fun.
Exactly.
No, thank you guys for doing what you do. You'll put on amazing webinar, amazing market information, and it's great. So thank you.
Oh, our pleasure. All right, Allie. Well, that was great. That's a great conversation there. So we have some questions here that we received over the past month.
okay.
Read them off. First one's for you here, Allie. You can take this one. what, because you kind of put a video out there recently when it got posted, so it's kind of fits in there. What are the biggest mistakes customers are making right now when evaluating energy offers?
Well, you're right. We did just put a video clip out about this. The biggest piece about energy offers and comparing them is really making sure that they are apples to apples. This will especially affect customers who are in areas where there's a lot of different cost components, some of which may be bundled but not fixed, some of which may be adjustable, some of which may be managed via different language in the agreement, different volumetric tolerance or bandwidth or swing has 4 or 5 places where it can technically go in the contract. So you've got to be really careful. And as these markets continue to evolve and become exponentially more complex, it's really important to get with a professional and ensure that you know what this product is going to look like whenever the bill comes, and there's no surprises. So, but making sure that you're working with a professional, making sure that you're evaluating those bids apples to apples, not just in terms of the price that you see on a proposal, but the contract language and the company that's supporting it as well.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, that's everything, right? Making sure everything's comparable. That's what we love.
Yes, green apples to green apples.
That's why I love it.
Yep.
I'll take the second question. With power prices moving higher in several markets, what should brokers be telling customers who are waiting for a pullback? This is what you get all the time. And my advice always is this: customers, they basically take control of the process, right? So customers are always kind of saying like, give me a quote. You just give them a quote, or you're sending a quote every few days or every week, right? And just refreshing. And I was like, okay, yeah, we're waiting. I think the market's going to lower. Okay. So the best way to get that is just simply ask the customer, like, what level would you be looking to execute at, right? And, hey, I mean, the pricing might say it's $55 right now, right? If they say 40, and obviously there's some other issues here, but they may say 51, they may say 52, they may say 53, right? And you say, well, the best way to execute, and we just put a blog post about this last month. So go to our website, you'll see the blog post. It's called about strike price agreements. And strike price agreements are basically, you're going to choose a supplier, you're going to go get the customer to basically sign the contract, but it's going to be language in there saying basically that the supplier will countersign it when that price is hit. And so the price is going to be lower than what the market is. But what it does is now gives the supplier this great advantage in the marketplace in your favor to be able to go and execute. So for instance, if something's 55, the broker, if they were given their trading desk a chance, like, hey, I need to execute here 54.5, that would probably get executed on the spot, or not on the spot, but within a couple hours. Because now they're not showing a price that they know, like, oh, here's the offer, here's where we can cover it if the customer does sign this, so we can then sign the contract. Now they can go be proactive in the market, so rather than reactive. So I would just say, ask your customers what price. If it's a reasonable level, if it's not reasonable, have a different conversation, obviously. But if it's a reasonable level, say, hey, I've got a great idea that can get you probably $1 to $1.50 closer to that right now. And that is a strike price agreement. And also you get their commitment. They sign a piece of paper. Typically these things last for 30 days. The customer can say, hey, I'm out of that strike price agreement, and then get it pulled within 24 hours. But it's a great way of doing it. That's what I would do all the time, is just have a conversation, take control of the process. Okay, third question, and last one we'll have for today, because we're getting up there in time. How should brokers explain the difference between a low price and a good contract structure?
Oh man. Well, anybody can put a price in front of you. And I mean, anybody can put a price on a piece of paper and say, I'm going to give you electricity for 3 cents all in. Here you go. The difference is how are they supporting that, and what resources do they have? Are they going to be good for that contract? Are they actually going to give you power for the entirety of the contract at the price governed under the contract language that you're signing? Anybody can put together a price, and honestly, we need to be really careful. Our customers need to be careful. Our brokers need to be careful. With the proliferation of AI, this stuff is going to look better and better and better. It's really important to dig into the contract. It's important to dig into the product, the components, and ensure that you know what is in that price, what's passed through at cost, if anything, if that price can change over the contract period, and why it might change over the contract period. All of those types of things are all in the contract language, not in the price itself. So it's really important to look at the contract.
Yeah, but it's like what Benji was just saying. What we've always been saying is like it's like really focus. Think of yourself as like a risk management advisor, right? And the risk management's not just electricity usage and electricity costs. It's also the contract language. That's part of managing risk. There's risks in these contracts. These contracts, when anybody delivers you a contract, that contract was written by their lawyers, right? And there's stuff in there to protect them, not necessarily to protect you.
Correct.
So work on that. And we have actually worked with a lot of our suppliers on getting some custom language and in most of our contracts. And definitely we can get a lot, even more change if, kind of things are done on much bigger deals, especially when they get a lot of hair on them. Well, all right. Well, that's it with the Q&A part. Any kind of parting thoughts, Allie?
I think that's it. This has been a really fun conversation. I'm excited to get deeper into summer and see what happens in the market, see if we get one super El Nino or a super master hyper El Nino like we're supposed to. I don't know. But excited to see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm excited too. I'm excited for the summer, definitely. A lot of stuff going on. World Cup, some good movies coming out. World Cup's coming in, all this stuff. So. And I'm just was really kind of thoughtful of really what Benji was saying and kind of what we said. And I think it's so important is that the value that we can bring here is can make your business grow exponentially, right? So don't think of it as like, oh, I'm going to go revenue. Think of it more of as, wow, this is going to free me up to bring me a lot more revenue in, right? And the value we bring is and needing a partner really these days as these things get more and more complex and markets and contracts and different offerings, we've got your back. And we'll have it for the rest of the time. So with that, Amanda, why don't you bring the thing about Thrive, and let's just close off here about Thrive. Just want to remind everybody, this is open to the partners here. We get discounted airline tickets. This is $1,000 plus ticket. We've got that. That's covered for you. It's free. Talk to your account executive. This is talk about growing revenue and really with not much work. This is products you'll come here and you'll learn a lot about some products to cross-sell to your customer base and how to naturally do that. Not to mention there's some great people you're going to meet and some incredible speakers at this. I think one of the founders of really AI, kind of a godfather of it, is going to be there. So come out to LA. Hope to see you guys there. Allie and I will both be there. Benji will be there. So look forward to it. Again, talk to your account executives. But that's it. Have a great month, everybody. Great month. We'll talk to you next month.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.